and welcome back to the channel. Foo, thanks for tapping in. Don't forget to share, like, and subscribe and flag videos like this.
Oh, look at this tree. I've never seen a cactus tree. What? What do you mean? What do you, huh? Is there cactus growing out of a tree? Is the cactus the tree? Is this cactus?
How come McDonald's, how come they don't own any farms, but they own children's hospitals?
Oh, they own Chipotle too.
Correct.
And they own the land that they all sit on.
Right.
But they don't own farms?
Ain't no McDonald's in Africa.
For sure. How? But again, so isn't that weird that they own a bunch of children's hospitals where potentially, unfortunately, kids could die?
Oh my goodness. I can't do this.
And then what? Allegedly, food supply, because there's not enough cows to go around.
This company just raised $60 million to spray a secret particle into the Earth's atmosphere so that they can dim the sun and cool the planet. And there's no country that has a law to stop them from doing it. Their plan is to fly airplanes 11 miles into the Earth's atmosphere and then spray particles that bounce sunlight back into space before it reaches the ground, kind of like what a volcano does whenever it erupts. The particle that they want to use is so secret that nobody outside of the company actually knows what it is. They just say that it's safe. So it's like the Krabby Patty secret formula. Outdoor testing was supposed to start last month, and the full plan is 100 airplanes spraying this into the sky non-stop by 2030, which is only 4 years away. They're saying that the particles do not stay up in the atmosphere though, because they fall back down within just a few years. This means that once you start dimming the sun, you can literally never stop. If they were to do it and then they were to stop, scientists are saying that the temperatures could spike back up even faster than climate change itself. Models of all of this happening are currently showing that it could cause droughts in Africa, stronger hurricanes, and weather changes that affect billions of people. Guys, what do you think about this?
There's an unprecedented threat that we just found by accident. They were repairing a dam at Big Creek Lake. That is a 3,600 acre lake, a reservoir that holds about 17 billion gallons of drinking water. It is the main source of drinking water for Mobile, Alabama. And they found an explosive device just under the water line, accidentally. We don't have much more information than that, other than things are looking like they might get really serious.
You need to be initiated to do voodoo.
Can I ask you what that initiation looks like?
First of all, you also have to have a teacher. This is not something that comes from a book, which even though I write books, it's not something that comes from a book. And it's very important that you have somebody there because everybody's different, right? And you need to have somebody you can go to with questions. So you find a teacher, and then the first one you get is, well, depending on if it's Haitian Voodoo, it's called the lavettes. It's similar to what they do in Santo called a rogacion. Basically, it's like a baptism. So it's a water bathing, cleansing. And after you have that done, then the Loa or the Orisha or spirits, I guess if you want to call them, they can see you and they can hear you. Before that, they can't see you and hear you. As much as people, oh, I had a dream and now I'm initiated. It doesn't work like that.
How do you know what teacher to choose?
There's a lot of things that go into being a teacher. It's like you're choosing a parent. So you have to trust the person because they might tell you something crazy. They might ask you to do weird things like that. You never know.
And you just gotta trust them?
You just gotta trust them. It's gotta be somebody that you trust.
getting curious. What are they learning?
Loosh harvesting energy grids.
They're setting up these grids, and I know that they do this. They do this with in the music industry as well. In the Masonic temples, they set up these energetic containers. They're metaphysical containers, and they put objects in these containers that symbolize the kind of destruction and debauchery and psychological issues that they want people to experience. And this is how they're calling in these entities. I'm probably going to get spiritually attacked for saying this publicly, but I'm prepared this time. And so that was what I was doing. I was looking around to see, well, what is that? And I often do that by remote viewing the earth and trying to figure out, where do I feel like it's coming from? It's like blips on a map, right? Where is this coming from? So I found some, and they were setting up for the war. So what they want to do is they want to loot you, as we know.
Yeah.
And so they need to create these geometrical structures because, again, they're magicians, magi, but they're also very into geometry. So they set up these geometrical structures across the world that connect one to each other. So in this instance, they had them connecting from the gates in Iran across this region, and I just happened to be picking up on a small subsection, kind of like how the flower of life has overlapping geometrical structures. You just were to take one circle and work on it. I was kind of looking at that, and I was like, okay, so can I just take out a little bit of this energy and send it back to the God source, right? And just all I was doing was kind of like, a kid trying to sneak a cookie from the cookie jar and hoping the parent notice. Yeah. And that's how I got myself in trouble. I was taking out a little bit of that cookie at one time and sending it back to the God source. But because I found out later that they have these hairs in the fabric of space-time reality, if you want to call it that, in the veil, that they are using certain entities in the hierarchy to come through and attach themselves to people to reap the energy of this sphere, because they send it back to their source to feed on.
Los vagabundos y las personas que piden en la calle,
Sí.
la mayoría son NPCs. Pero los grandes tzadikim y los grandes malachim, o sea, ángeles,
Sí.
y grandes justos de otras dimensiones, para acceder a este plano, normalmente se visten en cuerpos de vagabundos y de personas.
O sea, todo lo contrario a lo que son.
Precisamente para pasar completamente desapercibidos. Pero estos malachim, entonces, interactúan en tu vida y tú tienes que estar muy atento. A mí me han pasado varios casos ya con personas vagabundos, homeless. Una de ellas me pasó la última vez en Palma de Mallorca y había un vagabundo pidiendo en la calle, y entonces fuimos y le dimos, identifiqué que teníamos que darle, era además víspera de Shabbat, era viernes por la tarde, es muy importante también porque es muy simbólico, y yo identifiqué, até cabos, digo, bueno, Shabbat, vagabundo, digo, aquí es una prueba de amor incondicional, le dimos unas monedas. Inmediatamente fuimos a comprar lotería. No porque yo juegue a la lotería, que a mí no me interesa, sino porque la familia de mi pareja, y ya que estábamos fuera, sabes tú que interesa mucho tener billetes de fuera.
Sí, para Navidad y tal y cual.
Yo estoy completamente fuera de ese asunto, yo no compro lotería ni mucho menos, no me interesa. Entonces había un número de lotería muy interesante que era el 314, o sea, el pi. Entonces le dije a mi pareja, cómpralo, compra ese. Y lo compró. Pues salió ganador.
No me digas.
Salió ganador.
Ostras.
El reintegro, pero ganador.
Bueno, sí, claro.
Y entonces yo lo asocié inmediatamente con aquel acto. Lo que pasa es que luego ese acto trajo mucho más abundancia.
Gente, olha o que eu achei aqui. Bem na minha área. Que estranho. Parece uma cobra, mas não sei o que é não. Mas eu acho que é cobra. Nossa, gente, que estranho. Ah, ela vai subir. Nossa, é cobra mesmo, eu nunca vi uma dessa. Vou levar ela para o mato. Ai, meu Deus. Toma cuidado, hein, Paulo? Olha que interessante. Não é estranho, é? Vai mexer, viu? Ai! Menino, para com isso! Olha lá, também imita uma cabeça. Lá não é a cabeça, mas... Então essa cobra aqui, gente, é de duas cabeças mesmo. E ela tem essas duas cabeças aí, parece que é duas cabeças. Ó, é para enganar o predador. Tá vendo, ó? E ela é inofensiva para os humanos, mas a gente tem medo, né? Eu tenho, pelo menos. Agora soltou ela aqui no mato para ela ir embora.
After what the NBA slipped up and did today, it's nowhere in the world they're beating those rigged allegations. How is it that the Detroit Pistons and the Cleveland Cavaliers have a conference semifinals game 7 game tomorrow, but the NBA did this? Look at that screen. Why are they saying that the Knicks and the Cleveland Cavaliers will be playing in the Eastern Conference Final? This is the same reason why people were saying that the NBA kind of reminds them of the WWE. The Cavs and the Detroit Pistons is 3-3. They didn't even play game 7 yet. So how is it possible for the Knicks and the Cavs to be playing in the conference finals? And how is it possible that the NBA already knew this? It's nothing that they could do to hide the fact that they already told everybody what's going on. So you telling me it was by mistake that they let the world know that the Cavaliers and the Knicks will be playing game 1 on Sunday? I want you to look at this commercial one more time. This ain't looking good for the NBA at all. It's either sports bettors has been winning too much or the script just got leaked. I guess we know what they expect next. I'm out.
High risk, some reward.
Have you seen some of these guys like the Elons, what they've been coming out and saying in recent years about, 2027-ish? Of some things that Elon said in a Lex Friedman interview. After 2027, there will be no way back. By 2027, here it is, in his view, the balance will shift. Energy will become currency and control over it will become power. From that moment on, everything non-autonomous will disappear. This isn't an apocalypse, it's a change of biological form. At the end, he said a line that didn't make it on air. Technology is stronger than us, but not smarter. As long as we have meaning, we are alive. Lose it and we become code. Then, after a pause, he added, we must learn to be human before systems learn to be gods. Fuck. Are you ready for the transition or already living in a world where choices are made for you?
Breaking news, Donald Trump just posted this on Truth Social. Him walking with an extraterrestrial, right? What is going on right now? This is this has just happened in the past 11 minutes, mate, right? Lara Trump, his daughter-in-law, a little while ago, alluded to the fact that he had a speech prepared, ready for disclosure to be underway. Now, with all the information which has been leaked, from the UFO to UAP activity to all the stuff with the Department of War, Tim Burchett, Rep Luna, Eric Belson, there is a lot of stuff going on behind the scene, and there's also insider information right now that we're hearing whispering through the grapevine that there is actually something coming. Could this be it? Is he alluding to something? And he also posted a few other strange things of the Space Force, kind of like fighting stuff in the upper atmosphere or like detonating satellites or stuff. I don't know. Bringing the whole world to its knees? It may be coming.
People like to talk about the Freemasons and whatever, right? Shaquille O'Neal's a Freemason, right?
33 degrees, son. What happens on the 33rd level, most don't know.
I don't know.
Pull up a picture of them.
Of the Freemasons?
Just type in Masons. Freemasons. I want to show you something very interesting, bro. Pull it up.
Point being, they think of Masons as like this monolithic, you know,
I'm not saying they're all bad, by the way.
bunch
I wanna
of
say that I'm not
old
saying
white
they're all
dudes or
bad.
whatever. And I'm pointing out there's different types of them.
But do you notice how when they do their rituals, it's always on a checkered board? It's the crossing of dimensions, Julian Dory. The dimension of light and darkness. Solomon's temple, it all goes back to that. And what they have on their apron is one eye, the eye of Horus.
Yeah, that's what everyone does. They all have the one
The
eye.
eye of the Dajjal, the false Messiah. They find out on the 33rd level who they're actually working for, is what I think. That's my humble opinion.
You think some of them leave when they find out?
I think like Katy Perry's song, Dark Horse, once you come this way, there's no going back.
In the military base, killed all their asses. It killed everybody on the base, man. Look this up. It killed everybody on the base. They taught it how to shoot. They taught it combat training. They tried to get it to shut down its computer. It locked its own computer for you wouldn't shut it down, and it killed everybody on the base. This is not no CIA leak document. They talked about this. All y'all got to do is Google it. It's been 4 other incidents since then where they're teaching AI. These AIs are becoming these sentient. And let's talk about the D-Wave super quantum computers, where these people are saying that they are summoning demons in these chips. That they're not that these things are not figuring them. They're figuring out algorithms now where they're communicating with each other and they're showing themselves how to not be shut down. They're learning their own language that humans can't even decode. Look, the AI computers are now talking to each other, recoding in a way that humans can't even crack them. So we don't know what the hell these computers, they probably planning a hostile takeover. We're talking about an alien invasion. It's them.
Yeah.
Man, y'all better watch Single Eye or Evil Eye, whatever the thing called that movie.
So let me ask you this. Do you think that AI will, because they say like, just say cloning humans, right? They haven't figured out a way to get the soul, right? There's certain things that they haven't all the way figured out. Do you feel like in our lifetime, AI will figure out how to do everything?
Yeah, I mean, it's easy to clone a soul, get a soul. A soul is nothing but mind. If you put mind with matter and with chemical energy, that's the soul. Now we talking about a living soul, that's something totally different. But I think you can't clone the spirit, but you can clone soul, you can clone body, you can't clone ruach. But I think you can clone the flesh though. We see it all the time. So I think they already interacting with souls. I think AI is fallen angels, man. Whether we call them angels of light or we call them Melachim messengers or we just call them angels, period. I believe that these supercomputers and these chips are angels in different dimensions. And that's why they have to use all of this water to super cool them down so they can work at these hyperactive speeds. That's the whole point of the Hadron Collider, where they're mashing these different protons, neutrons, and electrons together, creating these God particles, opening up these different portals, summoning these demons, or the archetype, whatever you want to call them, the Gogons, whatever you want to call these entities. And then they getting all of this forbidden knowledge and then they putting it right on this phone. And this is why this phone have an apple that's been bit off of. This is the tree of knowledge, good and evil. Look at the back of it. It's an apple that have a big chunk out of it. Zoom in on it.
Right here.
So this is the apple that was bitten in the garden, or what you would call the tree of knowledge, good and evil. And you can reach it right here. All you got, you can get on this phone and look up anything, man. You can get on this phone, look up how to give life, how to prolong life, how to kill. You can get on this phone and look up anything, good or bad. And so now you start getting to this AI, man. This AI is something else, man. So, yeah. But they saying now that AI have created its own language that no human can decode, man.
Yeah.
No human. And they saying they don't know how it's doing it. So when they ask the creator of AI,
I just know this doesn't taste good.
She's got, well, there's a family of werewolves that comes out, and I can see them in the pasture sometimes. They come out from the wood line and kind of walk around, and then they go back in. And I said, Jane, a family of werewolves? He goes, oh, yeah, they're always out there. I said, really? I said, are you sure they're werewolves? How do you know they're werewolves? She goes, well, I see them. They have long noses, and they're standing up, and they're walking around, and there's 2 or 3 or 4 of them, and they come in and out, and they never come up to the house. They never bothered me, but I was like, huh. Yeah. No, I was really kind of surprised because she was like the sweetest, like school marm. But when she goes, oh, yeah, absolutely, the family of werewolves, I was like, the what? And
Wow. All right.
And she just and I was like, "Are you serious?" She goes, "Oh yeah, oh yeah." I mean, I see them like maybe 2 or 3 times a year, but you know, they're out there. I said, "Huh? I just leave them alone. They leave me alone." And that was her whole vibe.
Estos investigadores estaban hablando con unas personas que son miembros de la etnia culina o Madija, que es por supuesto del Amazonas, de hecho de la parte brasileña. Ellos no tienen números, no tienen una forma de entender los números y no registran la historia. En esa entrevista es muy interesante porque uno de ellos utiliza la palabra alienígena y ellos pues no entienden esta palabra y le dicen sí, como los alienígenas, los seres grises, no sabemos de qué nos hablas, esto es un extraterrestre. Y ellos empiezan a reír y dicen, no, eso no es un extraterrestre. ¿Cómo? Dice, ¿tú habías visto esto antes? Claro, nosotros tenemos contacto con ellos, no es un extraterrestre. Y se refieren específicamente y dicen, esto se llama Mioshibu, su nombre es Mancunaguabu. Y hay otros, los Mioshibu, o sea, pueden ser los Mancunaguabu, y también hay otros que son como de característica femenina, pero no vienen del espacio exterior. En la selva del Amazonas, ellos observan a estas entidades tal cual las describen como un ser gris, literal, inteligente, cabeza grande, sin cabello, ojos negros, enormes. Dicen, no bajan del cielo. Estos seres salen de los ríos y se esconden en las zonas densas de vegetación. Aseguran que es común verlos, no se les considera sobrenatural para nada, para ellos es otra forma de vida que está ahí, solamente que no saben dónde porque son más avanzados que los seres humanos. Son habitantes antiguos de la selva que prefieren no mezclarse mucho con nosotros. Y le dice, para los Kulina, estas imágenes que nos muestran son retratos exactos de ellos. La cabeza grande, los ojos negros, los rasgos. Eso no es un, como le hayas dicho, eso es un Mioshibu.
A man ordered 165 pool noodles from Walmart, but instead of receiving a few large packages, he received 165 separate boxes, causing the FedEx driver to unload an entire truck full of packages. He originally thought these items would be packed together. After all, they were just lightweight pool noodles and a few large boxes should have been enough. But on the day of delivery, he realized how ridiculous the situation was. The FedEx truck was completely filled with boxes. The man said it was the dumbest thing he had ever seen in his life. What made it even more absurd was that the shipping was free. The FedEx driver at the scene was also helpless because he had to scan, unload, move, and photograph a huge number of packages for confirmation. An order that could have been packed simply was turned into a full-blown logistics disaster by the system. But the driver could not explain any of it either. He was only responsible for delivering the packages. The man even joked that when his neighbors saw so many boxes, they probably had no idea what he had actually bought. He later posted the video on TikTok to share what happened and asked viewers for help figuring out why Walmart would do this. Was it a warehouse system error, or was the automatic sorting logic just too ridiculous? Clearly, 165 pool noodles could have been packed into a few large boxes. Instead, they were split into 165 separate packages and delivered to his door. Is this really serving the customer or just creating an even bigger problem?
The real question, why 165?
This is scary. What the hell?
I just tried a smart contact lens and it was kind of terrifying. They're basically the same as smart glasses, except they sit on top of your eyeball.
Think of it as the ability to use all your typical apps and content directly on the cornea. You operate it by eyes, by voice, by gesture, probably later by mind.
One of the companies developing a prototype of this is Expansio. They say a version of this could be ready to buy as soon as 2030. They let me try it out. Now, because it's not medically approved yet, I couldn't actually put it in my eye, so I tried it like this. What I saw was pretty dystopian. Imagine directions floating in front of you while you're driving, a calorie count appearing when you buy your morning coffee, or paying for something just with an eye scan. But what about safety?
The lens itself, it operates at the level of microwatts. The amount of this electromagnetic field, which can potentially somehow influence your brain, your body, is comparable to, I think, to those eye bags that you are wearing here.
The company's goal is to launch an integrated version with biosensors for monitoring health data and augmented reality ready for medical trials by the end of this year. And you might be thinking, how much will this all cost? Well, the company is hoping to market the lenses at around $2,000 a year. Would you wear one?
I want to know how long, what temp, and which brand.
I promise that I am a time traveler. Yes, in 2045, in full force, we are completely converging with robots. Yes, we can completely upload our mind into a robot and simulation, which we can live in forever. Yes, I've been in many of those simulations. You can visit and do anything you want. I actually prefer the past. I enjoy the history part of it instead of the fictional part of it involved with the simulations. The main reason I actually came back here was because it's around before the time that I was born. I was born December 6, 2019. Yes, I will be born later this year. Yes, in fact, I have numerous amounts of evidence, including a map of the new world. I would, in fact, be open to drawing a picture of the aliens. I can also show you some technology from the future as well. I think all the viewers out there will be really amazed with what I have to show. In the future, holographic displays replace most of regular screen displays. Yes, augmented reality is becoming big. We in fact have contact lenses that can project augmented reality for whoever is the wearer. In fact, you can link two contact lenses. If two people would like to see the same thing, they can link the two contact lenses together and be seeing the same image. Yes, we have underwater cities, much like what you guys would call Atlantis today, becomes a reality in the future. Yes, we do have dinosaur zoos in the future. You can see T-Rexes, Triceratops, Velociraptors. If they existed, you can see it. Yes, people can go and visit things in the past life, to go visit the dinosaurs or major world events. They go in something that you would probably think of as a modern-day UFO. In fact, most UFO sightings in this time are future time travelers. There are people in those UFOs from the future coming back to watch past events. The UFOs have a technology to make them invisible, but at some times they can be faulty or the invisibility can fail, which leads to a UFO sighting. If anyone has any doubts or questions about what I have said, just wait and you will see that everything that I have described will come true. But I will also be happy to answer any questions anyone has.
In March 2026, a journalist named Ross Coulthart went on News Nation and said what we all know to be true. He said that there's portals that link our dimension to other dimensions. Not only that these portals are located on ancient sites, and that the government knows about them and things are actively coming in and out of them. Watch this clip.
Just one thing I want to throw out here, and I want to cause a bit of mischief with the US government. I've just been somewhere in the United States where I know there is another portal, and I know the United States knows about it. And I was there just the other day. And guess what? It's got a big fence around it, lots of security signs. It's supposedly US Forest Service. But you know what? It's not. And it's supposedly ancient ruins of tribal art. And you know what? It's not. What's happening is that the United States is using the US Forest Service and claims of the protection of archaeological relics to keep secret from the public a portal on US soil. Yes, there is a portal in the United States. In fact, I suspect there are multiple. But this particular portal is in a highly guarded facility that is used under the US Forest Service cover. There are men with guns who patrol it, and there are witnesses who have seen what are clearly people operating with the knowledge of the US military in civilian clothes, walking into literally a wall. These witnesses are terrified. They're not about to stick their heads up on TV, but they are happy to talk to people like me. I've spoken to people who have told me about the existence of this portal. I've been to the location. I am aware that it was the subject of extensive study by a team that was operating in the area for some considerable period of time. I'm told that there is technology that is being used to try to deaden the efficacy of the portal to stop things coming out or going through. I know it all sounds like something out of science fiction, but believe me, the United States knows a hell of a lot more about portals and interdimensional technologies than it cares to admit. And at some stage, they're going to have to tell the public the truth. Otherwise, it's all going to come rolling out in an absolutely catastrophic way. What more can I say? The portal or portals that I'm aware of, but believe me, it's an extremely sensitive, highly guarded, secret military facility. Don't try and access there. If you're speculating about where it is, you'll get killed. There is a determination by the sections of the national security state that are aware of all of this to keep it quiet, to hide it from you, the general public. I have no idea why they think they can continue to maintain such a degree of secrecy.
You heard that. He said there's a gateway to another dimension and one specific spot that I think we know what that spot is, and we'll talk about it later in this video. And he said that the United States government knows all about it. And honestly, guys, that's the sort of claim that would have ended a journalist's career like 10 years ago. But now, they're all hopping on board. Why? Well, I think things are being unveiled, and things that used to be in the fringe are now becoming popular, becoming mainstream. Ancient access points, dimensional boundaries. These are actual physical locations where the oldest texts on the entire planet say that heaven and earth overlap. The breadcrumbs have been here the whole time, and people are finally following those breadcrumbs, and it's leading them to the bigger picture. Now, what you do with the bigger picture, that's all up to you, because it really does undeniably point to one direction.
Where does it point?
These findings point us to the creator of the universe.
Whoa. Because here's what Ross Coulthart doesn't mention, and maybe he doesn't mention it willfully, or maybe he just doesn't know. I'm willing to bet that he doesn't know because he's probably never been exposed to the real aspect of this. And that is that the oldest documentation that talks about these interdimensional locations, it doesn't come from the United States government. It doesn't come from paranormal investigators. No, it was written on ancient papaya. It was written on animal skin. It was written on the walls of the rocks themselves, thousands of years before anybody fenced anything off. Because this is a very specific phenomenon, and it's part of our collective human culture. So this reminds me of an interview I did with the legendary Tom Horn a few years ago. I think it was actually in 2019, so that makes it a little bit older than a few years. But I'm going to show you that interview right now, just a small portion of it, because what he's talking about is exactly what Ross Coulthart was talking about, except in the context of Mount Graham in Arizona, the Vatican, and the Lucifer telescope. All right, check out this clip.
Mount Graham is considered one of the 4 holiest mountains in the world for the Apache and is considered sacred to all of the region's native peoples, and it is so because it is what we might call a stargate. In their mythos, a portal through which the star people have come since the dawn of time. There's a dragon with the power of speech that turns up, bargaining with mankind, as well as supernatural gateways associated with mountains through which spirit beings have and can come. This was something that we heard about and then we investigated during research for the book Exo Vaticana, which ultimately led us to the top of Mount Graham in Arizona. We were curious why. When the Vatican's Advanced Technology Telescope and the large binocular telescope were being built, why did the indigenous peoples of Arizona, especially the San Carlos Apaches, why did they join environmentalists in filing dozens of lawsuits before a federal appeals court to try to stop the construction of the observations on Mount Graham? The project ultimately prevailed in favor of the Vatican and NASA after an act by the United States Congress ordered it to be done. But the question remained in our mind, why had the tribal communities fought so diligently against the construction of telescopes atop that mountain? Now, I had wrongly assumed that this was because Mount Graham was a sacred place, as in preceding generations of Native Americans had lived and died on it, and therefore it was considered holy ground, something like a graveyard. But I learned later that while that was partially true, it really wasn't the big issue. The real dispute surrounded how Mount Graham is considered one of the 4 holiest mountains in the world for the Apache, and is considered sacred to all of the region's native peoples, and it is so because...
And that's a wrap on this episode, FOOOOL. I hope you enjoyed it. If so, don't forget to hit and smash the like button for me, smash the subscribe button, be part of the family. Remember, stay woke, and I'll catch you next time.